The regular season is over. The playoffs are here, but Splash Play bravely marches on into the wild card round. And we're going to do what we always do here. Got ourselves a Saturday slate and a Sunday slate of NFL wild card games. We're going to look at some projections. We're going to look at some ownership. We're going to look at some optimal lineups of the solver with ETR's data. We're going to hop into the stochastic. We're going to run some sims, and you'll know the must plays by the end of this video, hopefully. But let's get into this one here, and let me go up top. Start a few minutes late on this one, so I apologize for the live viewers. So you guys watching after the fact probably doesn't matter at all. But had to update the credits for the video, the paying members here. Somebody complained in the Discord their name wasn't on there. I don't know why, because they've been a member for a while. I just hadn't updated in the last week or so. But it's been updated now, so if you haven't been paying, you're off the credits. If you have been paying, you're on. You'll see that at the end of the video coming up here. Let's talk about the Saturday slate first. So we're going to go Saturday, then Sunday here. So if you want to skip ahead, I'll put in the timestamps after the video ends. So make sure to just do that. Saturday slate, though, your top projected player, Lamar Jackson, key player for this one at an 8K salary, 22.6 projection. Going against a Pittsburgh team that's certainly not been playing well lately. And you can probably make that case for about the last month or so. That's been the case for them. For this game here with Baltimore and Pittsburgh, only 16.8 implied points for Pittsburgh. Really god-awful total in that game. Baltimore, 26.8 implied on that side for them. So Lamar being a key beneficiary, whether he's passing it, whether he's running it in, it's going to look good for him no matter what. So that's your guy right now. We got Nico Collins at number 2, a 20.2 projection. 2020, a year we all hold in great esteem. Also Nico Collins projection here. He's a player to me. I have him for an anytime touchdown in my fantasy points column for this week. I think the matchup for the Chargers is going to be one where, I mean, frankly, at this point, who else are going to throw the ball to? That's probably priority number one. Second part of it is just that Houston going against the Chargers defense that is going to run a lot of zone. Nico Collins really the only competent receiver on the Texans against zone, averaging 2.8 yards per out run versus a bunch of players on the team besides him. We're all about 1.4 or 1.3 for your John Mechie's, your Robert Woodses, your Dalton Schultz, even your Cade Stovers. These guys are not very efficient versus zones for whatever reason. I mean, they're not very good in general. It's probably why. Deontay Johnson being in maybe throws things off a little bit, but in a Houston playoff game here, everybody expects them to be 1-0. The total doesn't support them having a great showing here, being a 3-point dog at home. But I think this is a spot for Nico Collins where he does put a touchdown in. Probably be pretty chalky at 7,800 and probably not a lot of great, highly projected receivers on the slate. So I don't think I'm saying anything too brave here, but Nico, I think, is a player you're going to get a lot of lineups on Saturday. Shout out to the chat. We got some GMs. We got Steve, Big Pun here. Appreciate you being here. Even if you're lurking normally, whatever you're watching, that's all I can ask. Playoffs are easier. You just play enough drafts to cover the players, the teams you think will make the championship and Super Bowl game. Talk about playoff best ball? No. I don't think easy would be the right thing, but it's all different games for sure. DFS is still pretty similar. Main thing for DFS, I guess the biggest difference between the regular season and the playoffs, and it really applies more to NBA than NFL, but it's true of both. Your starters get pushed a little bit more. You're not really rotating in shitty guys quite as much in the playoffs. Also, too, frankly, one thing, we're going to do the data video after this one for the paying members. You get automatically redirected after the video, so join below if you want to see, my data deep dive for the wild card round games. Basically, for these kind of games right now, you're going to have a lot of teams at a certain point where it's just good team versus good team. Oh, this defense is pretty good. This defense is pretty good. Oh, the split's really not any advantage. And you're just kind of leaning on talent there. You're leaning on upside. And last year, your Juwan Jennings kind of spiked randomly. But really in general here, the main thing is the best players playing more, the best players getting more targets, getting fed the ball more in general. It's kind of what you're expecting overall. So having Lamar and Nico here as your top projected guys, obviously two key plays, is you guys that are key to their teams being even remotely functional and a do or die spot for them. Derrick Henry, the man in the thumbnail, 19.2 fantasy points for him, $8,200 salary. He's going to be played quite a bit. Not to spoil it here, but he's going to be projected to be played about 72% of the time in Stochastic's ownership projection. So a lot of Derrick Henry coming up. Again, really big favorite going against Pittsburgh. You get Justice Hill back in this game, coming back from a concussion and an illness, I suppose, were the two things that have been limiting him lately. So for Derrick Henry, back in here, your number 3 projected guy, but a little bit more reason or / way to move away from him at this point. Justin Herbert, a 6K salary facing that Houston team. You have a Q tag on Quentin Johnson right now. You also have Josh Palmer already ruled out. So a little bit less pass production theoretically, though. You certainly can find ways to feed Ladd McConkey. Houston, more of a man defense. Actually, no. They play man a little bit above average. They still play zone a little bit more than half the time. But Ladd McConkey versus man defense been a much better play. Quentin Johnson can't even get open versus man. Has only a 0.8 yard per out run versus man defense compared to 2.3 versus zone defense. For Ladd McConkey, though, he's averaging about a 28% target per out run rate versus man defense, 2.8 yards per out run as well. So your Herbert McConkey stacks back in play one more time. Joe Mixon in that Texans game, you certainly would imagine with the lack of receiving options there, even a Nico Collins, I do think can have a decent day. Can certainly score a touchdown on the spot. Probably going to lean on Joe Mixon for the run production in that spot as much as they can. Mixon also can be very chalky, it looks like on the Saturday slate. About 67% ownership going his way. So for Mixon right now, well projected here, very chalky. Certainly if you were to go to a Q-tag, J.K. Dobbins, I assume we'll play the Chargers playoff game. We got Gus coming back in for them as well. Go to one of those guys instead of Mixon, maybe get some leverage there. But Mixon projects really well. They're going to feed him the ball as much as they can, unless the game script moves away, and even then he'll probably get some checkdowns. Joe Mixon probably going to be a strong play. And I imagine, despite the really high salaries, $8,200 for Derrick Henry, $7,200 for Joe Mixon, I think you see a lot of Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon lineups here when you run through some ownership coming up. Your top values on the Saturday slate. Justin Herbert, number one, a 3.1x value for him at 18.6 fantasy points. CJ Stroud, another 3.1x value here, 16.8 fantasy points. So QBs in that Houston Chargers game, both going to be in play here relative to their price points, at least. And Stroud, how far the mighty have fallen. $5,500 salary, team total under 20 points. Just not a good scene for old Houston right now, and CJ Stroud in particular. Lamar Jackson, still a top value despite being 8K. Can you even fit Lamar, Mixon, and Henry together? Probably not, but certainly people are going to try. Dalton Schultz, 2.7x value for him, 9.6 fantasy points. Mark Andrews, 12.3 fantasy points projected for him at a 2.6x value there. And Russell Wilson, really low total, really low projection, 13.8 fantasy points for old Russ. Oof, tough scene. Surprise, likely not a top value. He's going to eat minus Flowers. Why would he eat minus Flowers? I mean, they have enough receivers to not play him. The guy I'd expect to come up the most would be Bateman, but, Lamar passes a bunch of different guys. Seems like Mark Andrews is getting the bump in production. Likely just does better in, broken plays, which there's no guarantee they have more broken plays because they don't have Zay Flowers out there. All right, let's go to, unless you have another reason, feel free to drop it in chat if you have a really credible reason why. Ownership projection. So this is for the Saturday slate. I don't think we have ownership right now for the Sunday slate for whatever reason. I do appreciate Justin hitting that chat twice. Thank you for that, Justin. We got Nico Collins, projected chalk in the Saturday slate. So what we'll do for the Sunday ownership, we're just going to run the sim and kind of go off of that. But just want to prepare. That's kind of why we're doing Saturday first, because it's going to be a little bit less of a natural flow here compared to how I normally approach things. Nico Collins, 72% ownership going his way for the Saturday slate. Derrick Henry, 71% ownership going his way for the Saturday slate. So your two chalk plays here. Again, no surprises to me here based on the projections. The fact that I view them the same way as I think the public's going to. They're both great plays, and on a slate where there isn't a lot of them. Joe Mixon at number 3, 66% ownership projected to go his way. Houston and Underdog, so favoring the RB that much. Maybe not the best move in the world. But Mixon, of course, getting the most red zone work out of pretty much anybody here. Is he even getting more than Derrick Henry? He actually gets more intended red zone touches than Derrick Henry. Joe Mixon getting 4.7 intended red zone touches a game, 2.4 of which are inside the 10-yard line. Derrick Henry, 3.6 a game, 2 inside the 10-yard line. So Derrick Henry, who's been great, soaking up a lot of that Baltimore production, would say that Joe Mixon, at least in the red zone, as good of a workload overall. Ladd McConkey. If you get certainly Quentin Johnson out, more coverage shaded his way, but more opportunity for Ladd to get there through kind of a mass volume of targets. Ladd McConkey at 6,800, 62% ownership. Of course, played well down the home stretch. That's basically it. J.K. Dobbins, 46% ownership for him, so looking pretty chalky even with the Q tag on him. And Lamar at 41%. So it does unfortunately seem like you go with Lamar, you go with, I don't even know, there's a lot of ownership for guys that are very expensive. So I'm curious to see what the lineups look like here, because this is super chalky, $7,800 Nico, super chalky, $8,200 Derrick Henry, super chalky, $7,200 Joe Mixon, super chalky, $6,800 McConkey. Even J.K. Dobbins, not really a value at $6,200. And then 40% of the field is also going to play Lamar. It's insane. It's insane. Bateman, more of a downfield threat. I think likely gets those designed behind. He doesn't really get design targets in general anyway. Again, legit, most of his plays, he's never a first read. It's just broken play stuff. So, look, you make the bet. I don't think there's really the most credible assumption going that way. And frankly, Bateman's been good enough this year. And I'm not a big Bateman guy. I think just him getting a bigger role seems like the most likely thing because he's played well. He's been one of those guys with fantasy points separation score. He's been, one of the top guys in that for all year for the most part, and was even the year before last, which, his performance certainly didn't reflect that last year. I don't know. I guess I'm a Bateman believer, but he's also super chalky. So your likely take, certainly lower owned here at 19%. But that's the Saturday ownership right now. All right, let's see. QJ versus Bateman in a vacuum. Bateman's more talented. QJ's probably got a. I don't even know if they have a similar kind of touchdown heavy role. So I would take Bateman. I mean, I think Bateman's more talented, and the target earning. Let's see, Bateman's averaging 18% target per out run, which is not that great. Quentin Johnson getting 24%, but there's certainly also less weapons on the Chargers. So I think they come out kind of in the wash, but Bateman's would give me, I would give them the talent advantage. All right, let's go to the solver next, see what they have for the Saturday slate. They probably have ownership as well, so that'll help us see if any differences here. We got Nico 66%, Derrick Henry 63%, Ladd McConkey 59%, Joe Mixon 59%, Quentin Johnston 53%. So Stochastic did not have Johnston anywhere near that high. They have Johnston at 39%. So ETR's data thinks that Quentin Johnston going to be super, super mega chalk, if we're going to say it like a Japanese game show. Projections, we got Lamar at 22.9, Derrick Henry at 19, so similar order up top. Justin Herbert at 18.6. I think that's a little bit of a difference from where we had with the Stochastic data. It was Lamar, Nico, Derrick Henry is the order they had for the top three. Nico Collins at number 4, Joe Mixon at number 5. Stroud not too far behind, Ladd McConkey a little bit further behind. All right, so that's ETR data. Let's run 25 lineups here and see what kind of the cash game, the traditional optimals are to get a read on where the projection is going to drive people to here for ETR. And of course, feel free to check out the solver yourself. Great tool, link in the description. Go check out more. Again, I use it to optimize stuff. I use it to sim stuff out as well with ETRs, add-ons you get with that. So it's a great product as well. Different than Stochastic, a little bit more of an optimizer plus a sim, but if you want more control, I think the solver is a good tool, and I like having a little bit more control sometimes. I mean, honestly, all the time for me. In fantasy, maybe not in life. We got Justin Herbert, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Ladd McConkey. So naturally, we're getting a stack here. I did not put any stack settings on, so just cash game wise, you're getting a Herbert double. A Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, Rashad Bateman, Dalton Schultz, Mark Andrews, and Ravens. So a lot of Ravens here, but no Lamar Jackson seems to be the key takeaway in that cash game lineup here. Your top projected one right now. The optimal, I guess what you call it right now. No player appearing in all of the top 25 lineups, so no instant fades you'd go to. The closest one to be Joe Mixon, and I do think, again, the workload's great for him. Houston failing here, though, getting kind of embarrassed with how they've played this year would not be shocking. If that were to happen, I do wonder if Bobby Slow could get fired, which is crazy given the fact that he was a head coaching candidate last year, and now with how bad Houston's played this year, and, frankly, a lot of injuries too. But they just did not put together the 3 receivers well. They used Mixon fairly well, but it's mostly just been a crush of volume rather than it has tremendous scheme. Like, he's not Saquon Barkley getting a ton of yards before contact. He's just kind of doing what he does with volume and being okay with it. I wonder if the Texans could just fire Bobby Slowick. Should be a tremendous fall from grace for one of those Shanahan tree guys. Either way, though, you're getting a lot of Chargers pass game offense in particular. You're also getting Chargers defense in here. Will Disley a good amount. You are not getting Dobbins. Dobbins much lower. A lot of Mixon, Henry, RB combos. In fact, most of the lineups are Mixon and Henry. Henry is in 68% of lineups. Mixon is in 96%, as I mentioned. Most common game stacks. Nothing that crazy there. 12% of a Chargers Houston game stack. 28% of Mixon, Nico, and Schultz. All right. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, you are getting really just Mixon, Henry, Mixon, Najee. Mixon, Najee again. So the Baltimore run game fade. Oof. Don't love that. A little bit of Mixon, Dobbins. Yeah, Mixon and Henry just going to kind of come preloaded here like a car. So that's how that looks. Let me see if they have sims for this. They do. Okay, let's run 250. Let's put some settings on here. Let's go import my settings, main stack boost. So we're giving a stack boost to pass catchers here. We're just going to go 2 unique players here because it's only a 2-game slate. Let's make 150 lineups or 250 lineups with some variants. And we'll sim them out, see what ETR thinks for some of the top sim lineups. Guys, Splash Play marches on throughout the playoffs. If you get value out of the show, please do show some love down below. Subscribe, hit the like button. It goes a long way for me here. There's one dude running an NFL channel, an NBA channel, doing the best I can every day to show you what the best products in the space are saying, what the best data is, and also what I think on a given slate with the amount of research and endless prep that goes on. That's why it takes me forever to update credits and stuff on the YouTube video, because I was looking at fucking NBA rotations this morning. NFL at this point, like it's all kind of like the back of my hand. For NFL, my prep work is mostly on the rookie stuff. I actually have to get back to that a little bit more in the beginning part of next week. We're going to have a showdown on Monday, though, guys. So that's another piece of content I'll have coming up. And check out the sponsors, too. Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash. Stochastic, you get your 15% off everything, all their data, all their tools. Link in the description there. You can see all the packages and choose your own option there. Got Unabated, $30 off. Shout out to you guys who have been using that one, probably more on the NBA side. But Unabated, great betting tools, great projections for NBA. I think you'd also use for betting, but really great betting products and a lot of pros on there that are gonna vouch for it. And of course, the solver. There we go. Great Butler call 2 days ago when I watched Can't Type Feeding Kids during that time. No, I certainly can relate to that, Lee, and I appreciate it. Yeah, look, Jared Butler, my boy. Shout out Chunk here. Chunk was in me in some of the drafts. You want one last run on playoff drafts? Check out the video I did yesterday. We did some drafters ones in addition to the ones that I did on Underdog. So that was something, really. The last ones got really fucking awful. I gotta say, for me, getting sniped to death, that's playoff best ball, even more than Underdog best ball. The big board coming up soon, too. So that's why our rookie prep is starting now. So the content flow here, even though a lot of more seasoned content creators, our pal Pete Overzet, talking about taking some time off, thinking about how he wants to approach this year. I don't do that. I just keep plowing forward. I'm a moo cow, just plowing. Your top lineups right now for Saturday slate. We're going to get to Sunday in the back half of the video, so stay tuned for that. 918% ROI in this one. Very high ROI, especially for a two-gamer. Justin Herbert, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Ladd McConkey, DJ Chark, Nico Collins, Will Dissly, Dalton Schultz, and Ravens. So a full-on Houston Chargers game stack. You're getting still some good Ravens pieces. Derrick Henry, that high total. Ravens D, given how bad Pittsburgh looks, certainly logical. No hero plays here besides maybe the DJ Chark over Quentin Johnson play, but that's just DFS. You fade the chalk guy. Maybe you don't like, you go to DJ Chark. That's that. Chark feels so thin. Has he been doing anything? Let me see his snap share. Chark last week he did play 37 snaps, 29 the week before. In terms of his numbers on the year, he's not in my top 3 receivers for them, so I'd have to look. 19% target per route run rate. Let's see. Not a lot to write home about. 1.7 targets a game, 0.7 catches, 0.6 yards per route run. He hasn't been good. He hasn't gotten a single deep target, or at least, well, he might not have qualified for deep targets. So that's not fair because it's the only top 100 is what I pull in. The DJ Chark, look, he's out there enough. You can take the shot. I get it, but that's that. DJ Chark barf. That's what Sims are doing. Your number 2 ROI lineup, more Lamar here. So Herbert number 1, Lamar number 2. Lamar with Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Nico Collins, Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, Will Dissly, Isaiah Likely, Ravens. So you are getting Derrick Henry in this one. You are still going nuts on a Raven stack, a 3-man Raven stack plus the RB, plus the defense, a full Baltimore ass kicking in that one. But Mike Tomlin's been 10-2 in divisional round playoff games. You guys, I don't know if you guys have seen that stat on social media, but it doesn't fucking matter at all. He doesn't have Big Ben anymore. I would say it'd be number 1 for that. Lamar Jackson, Joe, if they win that game, though, I swear to God, Baltimore just fucking shoot the moon is what I was going to say instead of yourself. Lamar Jack, that's tough. Mike Tomlin's overrated. I don't know if I would go that far. Players still love him, will die for him. He still relates to young guys. I agree that he doesn't win as much as he probably should or as he gets the rep for, but he's won enough. And frankly, holding a job for that long, even that's kind of Pittsburgh's MO, impressive. So I'm still team Mike Tomlin, even though it's stupid that he's like, people are citing that like he's going to beat Baltimore because he's fucking 10-2. Maybe he does beat Baltimore. If he does, though, holy shit, play that money line. It's like, I think Baltimore is what? Let's see. Baltimore is minus 505. Pittsburgh's plus 400. Honestly, Pittsburgh, I would have thought would have been worse than that. That's that. Mike Tomlin has 3 legs. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, I guess, if he had a huge hog. Sure. I don't know. It's relevant to the conversation if he should keep his job or not, or if he's good or not. Lamar, Joe Mixon, Justice Hill, Nico Collins, Ladd McConkey, Rashad Bateman, Dalton Schultz, Isaiah Likely, Ravens. So another Lamar super stack. And what I like about this one, you fade Derrick Henry, you get Justice Hill. That's a simple little tweak. You can play some chalk around it. That works. That's a fun lineup. Don't think it's sneaky, But if you just play Justice Hill, people won't have the courage to play Justice Hill. Not that you should like go crazy. I put Derrick Henry in the thumbnail for a reason. But if Justice Hill gets the touchdowns, gets some screens, some bullshit, Pittsburgh's more competitive somehow. I would also say, too, given how bad Pickens was in that last regular season game, he's not going to come up very much projection-wise. I think taking Pickens might be your low-owned guy just to get a shot on, and hopefully that makes you unique enough and he spikes an upside. Maybe a tournament winning one would be nice, but he could also just be unique enough and put up 15 to 20. That could be one way to get different. Justin Herbert, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Ladd McConkey. We're getting no Steelers right now. Darius Davis, who I think Justin was asking about in this lineup. Nico Collins, Will Dissly, Isaiah Likely, Ravens D. Russell Wilson here. All right, Wilson stack. So you're getting, see, like, I don't think you have to commit to the full stack. Like, you don't have to go, oh, Pittsburgh's going to go nuts. I think you could just take one of Pickens and probably that's enough. The Pickens only 40% owned, I think feels a little bit high, even for a 2-game slate. I think people are going to be really down on him after that last fucking dud that he had. Russell Wilson, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Nico Collins, George Pickens, Calvin Austin, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Texans. So a full-on game stack there with Russell Wilson at QB of the Ravens game. And then you're just playing the Texans dominating, which people won't play because people think the Texans are going to lose that game. Some logical stuff for sure up top. South Shianko, or I forgot how to say his last name. I remember the tight end for the Vikings. I know what you're talking about. That's when he like walked in the background. I think of like a Fox interview segment and just all hog. But it may shock you to hear. I think a lot of football players also all hog. Let's go down here. Look at the top ROIs according to the Solvers data. Getting Van Jefferson, your highest ROI in the slate, a 590% ROI, but he's barely in any lineups, so that's not that crazy there. Xavier Hutchinson, 276% ROI. So 2% exposure. Hutchinson and Deontay Johnson, very similar plays here. I don't know who gets more work. Hutchinson in the past has been more of the backup for Nico Collins not being in there, and he didn't do a whole lot with it, unfortunately. See, Hutchinson last week, 48 snaps. Deontay played 22, but obviously that was also a pretty big Davis Mills game. It's interesting. I don't think he's a great play, but 2% exposure, that high of an ROI. Maybe try to get some Hutchinson in your life. Texans D, I don't know why the connection is slowing down. I'm sorry if the quality is diminished. I'm fucking on a wired connection, but it's on my Wi-Fi is slow. We got Texans D, 270% ROI at 12% exposure. Russell Wilson, 264% ROI at 7% exposure. Isaiah Likely here, 30% exposure. So Likely not unowned here, at least based on the ETR run of data that we're going to have here. But Isaiah Likely here, 200% ROI for him. You can see the rest of the guys. Let's see if we can find a Stroud lineup real fast up top. What's your best Stroud? We saw every other QB besides Stroud. Here's your Stroud. Oops. I'm going to zoom in that much. Stroud with Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Nico Collins, Ladd McConkey. Nelson Aguilar is sneaking more of these top bar lineups than you'd want to see. Same for Dalton Schultz at tight end. Will Dissly, too. A lot of Schultz, Dissly, Ravens. A little bit less Mark Andrews than I would have thought. There's a lot of Likely up top. So for Lee, who wanted to play Likely, Sim is really supporting Likely. Mark Andrews only in one of the top, 10, I guess 2 of the top 10 lineups. A lot of Mark Andrews. Let's see what Stochastic has. Then we'll do the same process for the Sunday slate. And again, we're going to split this up here. So if you're skipping around, just do that. Contest generator. 10,000 lineups. And now let's see what else Stochastic has for you. And again, please do click that link in the description for Stochastic. It goes a long way here. Get 50% of the money that goes, whatever you're paying for, just goes right back to the channel. So it does support things here. And we had a great December. So would love to keep that going, because that's what allows me to do this show is the sweet affiliate dough and people like Unabated going, all right, I'll give you some money. it's unfortunately the biz, but doing okay. Good start to 2025 for the channel. Feeling all right about things. Had our most viewed NBA show last night, so shout out to you guys who did watch that. But game marches on. Still a lot of weeks left. There's an infinite amount of weeks left of content. It's a lot of weeks left of DFS, though, so that's good to see for NFL. And then once that gone, we're right into big board season. So, good God. Good God, it doesn't stop here. Feels like it should, but it doesn't. Curious to see what some of the other channels do out there with their time now. I know Neil Orfield's dabbling some playoff best ball. Saw him trying to really go after that content. Like who's gonna be the ones that keep grinding? I'm sure Davis Maddox gonna keep grinding through the big board. I think Neil will probably put up some. As mentioned, Pete's gonna take some time off. But now's the time when like you really got to test your mettle as a streamer. Like when football is wrapping up, like the hardest times I think to really push through and do content, February, March, April, you got the NFL drafts. That makes it a little bit easier. Once you get to combine time, May is a little bit tough when you're past the draft and there's not a lot of shit going on. The game's going to go on. I never play those long slates. I just play the one-day ones. Not really about tying money up. There's just the prize pools aren't as good. And like, also, I frankly I don't feel like I have a good read for the multi-slate ones. I like focusing in. Like to me, my best slates, I think, are like 3 gamers, 2 gamers. Sometimes definitely 3 gamers. 2 gamers is kind of tough because you're basically pure showdown there, but with a lot easier way to land on the right combos. Your number one lineup right now, according to Stochastic, is a Justin Herbert lineup. So same thing as ETR. Justin Herbert getting a lot of love from both Sims. Justin Herbert, Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins, Nico Collins, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, Will Dissly, Pat Freiermuth, Steelers D. Number 2, you have Herbert again. Herbert with Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins, Nico Collins, Ladd McConkey, Rashad Bateman, Dalton Schultz, Will Dissly, and Ravens. So feeling very samey from ETR and Stochastic so far. Number 3, you have Stroud, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Nico Collins, Ladd McConkey, Nelson Aguilar, Dalton Schultz, Will Dissly, and Ravens. Number 4, you have Justin Herbert, Derrick Henry, J.K. Dobbins, Ladd McConkey, Rashad Bateman, Quentin Johnston, Mark Andrews, Pat Freiermuth, and Chargers. And number 5, Herbert again. So all Herbert and Stroud in the top 5. Herbert, Joe Mixon, Jalen Warren, Nico Collins, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, Will Dissly, Mark Andrews, and Ravens D at number 5. Your top ROIs, Dalton Schultz, 2.1% ROI, your only positive ROI on the slate. Will Dissly, technically number 2 here at negative 2.1%. Nelson Aguilar, number 3 at negative 4. CJ Stroud, negative 4.8. Jalen Warren, negative 6.6. Pat Freiermuth, negative 7.2. Top exposures, the number one, top 150 lineups here for Stochastic. You're getting Ladd McConkey at 76%. I don't think Adam's in chat, but I'm sure he would be delighted to see that. 62% ownership for him overall, so you're getting above the field on a very chalky Ladd already. Nico Collins, you're basically flat with the field, 71% compared to 73. Derrick Henry, 63% compared to 71. Joe Mixon, 59% compared to 66. J.K. Dobbins, 55 compared to 46, so over the field on Dobbins. Schultz, 49% compared to 25, so almost 2x the field on Dalton Schultz. Your most leveraged plays, Dalton Schultz. Again, that's a lot of Dalton Schultz, man. I got to tell you, as somebody that thought Dalton Schultz would be a good best ball pick on the assumption that, oh, man, these receivers are out there and they're going to take some attention away and he'll just be able to walk into the end zone, catch a touchdown. Holy shit, did he not fucking do that at all this year? He was an awful pick, and I've been really frustrated having him. I get you have no receivers left. He's kind of leveraged against Nico. So I get it, but it's a lot of Dalton Schultz, man. He just sucks. He didn't spike, I think, 20 fantasy points once this year. He might have even spiked 15 once this year, at least in half PPR. Ladd McConkey, 76% exposure. We talked about him. You're getting 14% leverage. Will Dissly, 12% leverage, 30% exposure overall for him compared to the field's 18. Pat Freiermuth, 11% leverage compared to 45% exposure. Nelson Aguilar, 11% leverage on 22% exposure. And Jalen Warren, 8% positive leverage on 30% exposure. Your most negative leverage players, Najee Harris, you want to get under on him. 10% compared to the field's about 20, so about half the exposure on Najee Harris. Derrick Henry, less than the field, 71. They want to get just a mere 63%. So not really a fade, but, you know, they're not saying jam Derrick Henry in every lineup, which I think is fair. Whether you're doing a 20 max or a 150 max, you should do that. John Mechie, negative 7% leverage for him. You're basically not playing him with stochastic data. Calvin Austin, negative 7% leverage. Go from 11% for the field to 4% in the top 150. Joe Mixon, 66% ownership for the field. You're getting about negative 7% leverage on him. Isaiah Likely. So a lot of the top ROI lineups had Likely on ETR. Stochastic saying play less of him. A negative 7% leverage for him. So glad Cowboys got rid of old no yak Dalton. Not that it matters at all. Yeah, look, he had good years. I mean, that Cowboys tight end position generally has been pretty good, though this year it really wasn't for Ferguson. Remember when Ferguson, people were like trying to take him like the 60s in drafts? In best ball. It's a wild time. Anyway, should we? I think we can just go to the Saturday slate here. I'll look at other QBs because we saw. Let's just go one by one. There's only 4 QBs in the slate. Real fast. Herbert lineups we already saw enough of, I think, so we'll skip that. Stroud lineups. Stroud. CJ Stroud, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Nico, Ladd, Aguilar, Schultz, Disley, Ravens. We read that one already. Stroud with Joe Mixon, Najee, Nico, McConkey, Pickens, Schultz, Andrews, Texans. Stroud with Mixon, Dobbins, Nico, McConkey, Quentin Johnson, Schultz, Warren, Steelers. My one thought here would be that if you play a Stroud stack without Joe Mixon, you're probably going to get unique. Let's say the Texans somehow win this game and it's Stroud bouncing back to what he was and actually being good again. And like, that would be one way to get different. Obviously, if they get the ball, move the ball downfield, have success in the pass game, Mixon more likely to punch in a touchdown. But with just how much Stroud and Mixon seem tethered on both sites, I think taking Mixon out of Stroud lines would be kind of interesting to get to a little bit. All right. We got Russell Wilson lineups. Russell Wilson, Joe Mixon, Jalen Warren, 180% ROI on this one. Nico Collins, Ladd McConkey, George Pickens, Will Disley, Pat Freiermuth, Chargers. So the classic Steelers stack, the big two there with Pickens and Freiermuth, quote unquote, plus Jalen Warren on top. Number 2, Russell Wilson, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Ladd McConkey, George Pickens, Rashad Bateman, Dalton Schultz, Pat Freiermuth, and Texans. And number 3 is Russell Wilson, Derrick Henry, J.K. Dobbins, Nico Collins, Rashad Bateman, Quentin Johnson, Mark Andrews, Freiermuth, Chargers. All right. Those are lineups. Conceptually, I like Russ. Just really a dog shit total for them. So if you didn't play Russ, I wouldn't be mad at you. But that's sort of what the field's going to be doing anyway. So there's a tournament logic as you go to Russ. An overstacked Lamar here for Lamar Jackson, number 1 ROI lineup. Lamar, Derrick Henry, J.K. Dobbins, Nico Collins, Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, Dalton Schultz, Mark Andrews, and Texans. So, Texans D with Dobbins. Odd, but certainly could work. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, J.K. Dobbins, Ladd McConkey, Rashad Bateman, DJ Chark. DJ Chark making it on both sites in top lineups. Mark Andrews, Pat Freiermuth, Chargers D. And number 3, Lamar with Derrick Henry, J.K. Dobbins, Ladd McConkey, Rashad Bateman, Tylan Wallace, Mark Andrews, Pat Freiermuth, and Chargers. I mean, Lamar and Derrick Henry also going together everywhere. We've actually seen that work out in some of the DFS slates recently where Lamar hitting without Derrick Henry hitting has been a thing that's worked out in tournaments and in showdowns. So I think that's the main thing I would observe from the stuff up top, besides some of the similar players that you guys can kind of piece together on your own. Obviously, went through the top exposures and all that. Ladd McConkey everywhere. But I think like the QB and RB is getting tethered a little bit too much together for Lamar, for Stroud, even for Russell Wilson. Like they're all kind of coming up a lot with their RB, and I don't know that that's the best way to play a slate. If it's going to happen naturally and all these tools. That's how that looks for that one. All right, so time now. Here's your split in half. We're going to the Sunday slate. Let's start all over again. Let's go back to this tab for stochastics. So back to the old data. Main slate. Josh, it's Sunday now. You've woken up. It's a brand new day. And I think still going to do the final takes video for Sunday because it is it's a 1 o'clock start time, right? Yeah, 1 o'clock start time. I'm going to try and do the final takes video on Sunday morning and see how the views do for it, but let's plan on that. So we'll back and run this process again. We'll have more data for Sunday, more updated data, obviously, so come back for that. For right now, though, Josh Allen, 22.97, so let's call it 23 fantasy points for him. Your top projected player in the slate at 8,200. Jaden Daniels, number 2, my sweet boy at 7,500, 22.8, barely behind Josh Allen. I have drafted Jaden a good amount for playoff best ball. And man, not as much as I would have thought I would. But look, I think Washington wins that game. I've said enough times. I believe in the team. Certainly Tampa Bay can win it. Like, I'm not going to say like, oh, it's a lock. But I believe in Washington. I've liked what I've seen from them. I think they can push the pedal to the metal a little bit more. So I will make the case for Jaden here. Your Jaden McLaurin stacks back on, though they have certainly been targeting other guys more. Tampa Bay is just not that good of a defense. Like, they still have guys banged up, even though people are like, oh, the defense is getting healthy. Like, they have guys who've been in car accidents within the last week. I think their safety was in a car accident. So, like, I don't know. Like, I'm not sold on Tampa Bay beating Washington. Spread certainly does favor Tampa Bay right now. Puka Nacua at number 3 at 21.6 projection. Oh, this is not on Sunday. Why is this on here? All right, hold on. Let's take the teams down. It's going to go Denver, Buffalo, Green Bay. They're playing Philadelphia. It feels like an IQ test. Tampa Bay and Washington. All right, there we go. Just mislabeled here. The Monday night game is Rams, Minnesota. Josh Allen, Jay Daniels, Bucky Irving at number 3 when adjusting for things being correct here in the correct slate. He's 24.4 projection for him. He basically iced Rachaad White last game. Rachaad White only had no touches in that game. It only had, like, I think, 1 target. Basically got no work in that spot. Bucky Irving also, for I think the first time this year, had more routes than Rachaad White as well. Now it's the playoffs. Rachaad White, pass protection can certainly be a thing, though Bucky's been a good enough pass protector this year. They do trust Rachaad White more. But you're now seeing a couple of weeks of them moving away from Rachaad White, moving towards Bucky Irving. So at this point, Bucky seems like the go-to back. If he gets banged up, Rachaad White's going to come in and be instantly a much better play than he'll be projected for. Right now, Bucky at number 3 feels hard to fade him at a $7K salary. Saquon Barkley going against a tough Green Bay defense. They stuffed a run. According to Fantasy Points, which does stuff run data differently than Sports Info Solutions, they stuffed a run like half their plays, according to Fantasy Points data, does Green Bay. Given the fact that Saquon, I know everybody loves Saquon, so blah, 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 he's so fucking great, let's all suck him off. Even though other RBs like Bucky Irving outscored him in week 17, he has been really good in yards before contact. It's been the main thing for him. He's been great after the fact too, but like getting that head of steam, getting a few yards easy each time out, it's really helped him out. If you're going against a Green Bay team that stuffs the run a lot, that yards before contact shouldn't be there quite as much. So I think there are reasons for me, and again, I am the anti-fucking Saquon guy, so all the haters can be weird about it. But I do think for Saquon, like, he'll get played a lot because it's the playoffs. People think it's going to be a good spot for him. And certainly he can be a guy that succeeds against Green Bay, power runner versus a good defense. Always the thing we try to target a little bit. But for Saquon, I do think that I would rather have Bucky at a higher projection and $1,500 less. Saquon will get played a lot, and I think there are reasons maybe to be concerned about Green Bay's matchup because they're going to have to carry it with that defense. If Jordan Love's banged up, like, the defense is what you rely on. So I think, frankly, I don't think it's out of the realm that Green Bay pulls off the upset. Just Jalen Hurts being hurt lately. Saquon, I think, losing a little bit of effectiveness down the stretch. I don't know. That's fully fair to say, but not definitely as explosive, I think, as he was in the beginning half of the year, which is fine. Like, that's normal. He's played a lot of yards. He's put up a lot of yards and played a lot of downs this year. But I'm just going to say that up top because, like, I think it's not a great matchup for Saquon. The projection's low. Bucky's going to come up higher owned in the projections, but like when people are clicking lineups, they're going to fucking cram Saquon in, and I don't know that you should. Jalen Hurts at number 5, projection not that far behind Saquon Barkley at $7,300. Certainly, if you're playing Jalen Hurts, you're getting direct leverage on Saquon, tush pushes, a little bit more running for himself, a little more pass production. All those things pull away from Saquon's game, so it'd be logical to pair Jalen Hurts with a non-Saquon build. And certainly, if you put them together, probably a little bit underplayed. And that's your top 5 guys. Baker Mayfield not too far behind at 6,800. AJ Brown a little bit further behind. Mike Evans pretty close. Mike Evans, though, is facing his arch nemesis Lattimore in a new team, so we'll see how that goes for him. Lattimore is certainly not good anymore. Evans was great this year, but guys, sometimes maybe the guy's got his number. I don't know. I don't believe in that stuff, but it has been really bad results more often than not for Mike Evans against Lattimore. Top values in the Sunday slate. Jaden Daniels number 1. Is he going to be chalk? And I'm going to fucking be a chalk donkey playing him. I can't just have my boy unowned without people steaming up his ADPs in best ball this year, whatever's going to happen. But Jaden now, too good. Everybody's going to play him here. He's the best value on the slate at that 22.8 projection. Bucky Irving number 2. So Bucky and Jaden probably come up together in a lot of lineups. If you were naturally then to go more Bucks pass game and Commanders run game, you're probably pulling away from both sides there, and plays are going to come up a lot and with stochastic data. Baker Mayfield at number 3, going to be dropping back a lot for sure. Easy stacks to go to with Evans, Otten's back in. Jalen McMillan certainly has been scoring a lot of touchdowns. These guys are all pretty viable ways to go, and you can certainly pair Baker with Bucky as well. Josh Allen, number 4 value here, despite being the most expensive player on the slate, and Jalen Hurts at number 5. So no real values here. Your closest thing to an actual value is Zach Ertz at 4,300. If I had to guess, you're probably getting a lot of Jaden Daniels, Zach Ertz stacks naturally with that projection for him and that value metric, and Jalen Hurts having his. We can't look at ownership for this unless they change something. Let me just take a quick look at the data hub. I'll show you guys while we do it. Classic Sunday. Yeah, they haven't put ownership in for Sunday for reasons unclear. So we'll figure out the ownership with the sim in a moment. Let's go to the solver instead, because I'm sure that they have ownership in, and we'll get a read through that prism instead. Sunday slate. And let's go over here. Ownership. So ETR data here. Lattimore should sacrifice himself if the Commanders start a fight. Honestly, not the worst strategy. I don't think you can coach a guy to do that, or you're going to get Greg Williams out of the league. But honestly, yeah, sure. He's in Mike Evans' head for whatever reason. Bucky Irving, your chalk player here according to ETR data, 57.1% ownership for him. Huge value metric as well from ETR. Bucky Irving looks like, frankly, your best play in the slate. 38% ownership for Saquon Barkley, 37.7% for Khalil Shakir, 35.2% for Devontae Smith. That feels like so much for Devontae, but he did go off with Tanner McKee at QB, so maybe people think carry that over. Price tag's also fair for him for sure. Tucker Kraft, 32.4%. I feel like Kraft's snaps have been getting hurt by Musgrave. Tucker Kraft, no, he still played 62 last week. And Musgrave played more. Musgrave's up to 17. So just more 2 tight end sets, I guess, especially with Watson hurt. All right. Yeah, so Kraft, I guess good to go. But very chalky. Josh Jacobs, 32%, and Zach Ertz, 32%. Think he would be higher in stochastics ownership based on the value metrics there, but he's coming up here at 32% for ETR. And Mike Evans, whatever. You see the top guys. Projection-wise for ETR, you got Josh Allen, number 1 at 26.4 fantasy points. So definitely a little bit higher than Stochastic had him, where he was basically neck and neck with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels still number 2 overall, 23.2 fantasy points, but a bigger gap behind Josh Allen. Number 3, Jalen Hurts. So all QB heavy up top. Number 4, Baker Mayfield. Number 5 is Saquon. And number 6 is Bucky. So they have Bucky a little bit behind Saquon here. Stochastic had him higher projected and a better value. ETR has Bucky as a better value, but not higher projected. Solely a 0.3 difference. Mike Evans, see you higher here at 20.4 fantasy points. Are your top 25 lineups for the solver here on these Sunday slate? So many S's. Are your cash game lineup for Sunday if you're going to play a cash game at 11:35 a.m. on the East Coast? We got Josh Allen, Josh Jacobs, or 11:45. Jesus, time flies when you're having fun. Josh Allen, Josh Jacobs, 2 Joshes. Stop joshing around. We say this lineup. Ha ha ha. Bucky Irving, Khalil Shakir, Mike Evans, Sterling Shepard makes the lineup here. So a little bit of leverage against maybe people chasing Jalen McMillan. Dalton Kincaid. Ooh, daddy. Dalton Kincaid. Dallas Goedert, Packers. This lineup. You're getting a double stacked Allen naturally. I don't have any settings on here, so cash game lineup is a double stack for Josh Allen. In terms of your top 25 overall, so just going off projections, 100% of these lineups have Dalton Kincaid, 100% have Bucky Irving, 96% of Josh Allen. So because Josh Allen is so high here, you're not getting as much Jaden Daniels. I would think with stochastic data, how those guys are projected on there, you're getting probably more Jaden Daniels, probably more Zach Ertz. Just different projection set. Actually, you know, we could do. Let me see this real fast. So we could pop all this in. Stoke. So I do think it's going to be a little bit different for stochastic data. Why is it not showing any of the players? What is going on here? Why is it doing this to me? All right, well, fuck it. I had an idea, and now it's failed. I was going to run the projections, but I'm fairly confident you'd get Jaden Moore here. So a difference really then to point out would be unless Stochastic moves their projections or ETR moves theirs down. ETR users going to get more Josh Allen. Stochastic users going to get more Jaden Daniels. As a result, maybe it keeps the ownership in check for both, but it seems like a fucking dominant win right here for ETR with Josh Allen. Let's pull in my main slate boost here. We'll put on 2 uniques. Could go 3 because we got 3 games, but that's fine. 250. Let's do an ETR sim here. Let's see. Oh, all right. So sim-wise, well, let's see what the sims give us. You're getting more Jaden built here. You put variance on. But it's pure projection, man. Josh Allen coming up a ton with that ETR data. That's a really big projection for Josh Allen. I get why you have him 3 points ahead in like a do or die game, like have him 3 points ahead of Jaden. But it is a do or die game for both. I don't know. Josh Allen, though, hitting that rushing upside for touchdowns, like as good as Jaden is, as many rushing touchdowns as Jaden has punched in this year, Josh Allen's ceiling for rushing touchdowns is probably like 3 or 4 in a game. I don't think Jaden can get there. Jaden can get to 2. 3 or 4 would be asking him a lot. That's with how the play calling is. The Bills do pass more above expectation in the regular season in the red zone. So I don't know. But I think when it's do or die time, I would personally believe that Josh Allen just runs more. Kind of think we saw that in the regular season too. All right. There's 250 lineups. Let's sim these bad boys out. What's the best option to put them in? Flea Flicker, 24,000 entries. That sounds good. And let us see what we get with this sim. Oh boy. 2 interesting slates though. I think they made the price tags reasonable. I think not super casual. Like they didn't put Bucky Irving at 5,500 and go, all right, cool. I'd dare you not to play him. But I think 7K for Bucky is pretty fair. Saquon's price tag is pretty fair too, with him being projected where UTR had him even. Your number 1 ROI lineup, Jaden. Funny how that works. Jaden Daniels, Jaleel McLaughlin. Interesting to see that. Saquon Barkley, Dontavian Wicks, a Jaden Diami Brown stack. That's not going to win you anything, man. I watched so much Commanders this year. Diami Brown would spike it upside 1 out of 250 games, I feel like. I'm not sold on that. Maybe this is 1 out of 250, though. This is soft Bucks D. But Diami Brown, Mike Evans, Dallas Goedert, Bucky Irving, Broncos D. So really weird receiver core. Honestly, receiver might be kind of ugly on the slate, looking at it a little bit more. Baker Mayfield, number 2. Baker with Saquon, Brian Robinson, Mike Evans, Sterling Shepard, Terry McLaurin, Dalton Kincaid, Dallas Goedert, and Eagles. Why Diami? Zacchaeus getting more targets lately because it's a sim, first of all, and it's just taking a guy that's lower owned that fits with the price tag, so that's really it. It thinks that he hits an upside enough times that he would work at that price tag and would make any other players around him because of that price tag he's at would get there. But yeah, Zacchaeus on paper should be the better play. Deshaun Rupture. I saw they had the other entry. That's funny. Well, that's his career is probably done. Wonder what Cleveland's going to do. Cleveland has to draft a rookie, I think, or I don't know. They didn't want to play Jameis, and I would certainly get that. But that's interesting news. Jaden Daniels, Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Devontae Smith, Terry McLaurin, Diami Brown once again, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, and Bills D. So another Jaden here. No Zacchaeus still. Number 4, you got Jalen Hurts, Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Devontae Smith, Mike Evans, Sterling Shepard, Dallas Goedert, Tucker Kraft, Bills D. And number 5, you get your first little taste of Josh Allen. Josh Allen, Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Khalil Shakir, Devontae Smith. Olamide Zacchaeus makes it in this one, but not stacked with Jaden. Dalton Kincaid, Cade Otton, Bills D. I mean, the reason, though, Diami Brown being about 1/4 of the ownership of Zacchaeus seems like a pretty big reason why. You'd be getting some more of Diami Brown, I think. McLaurin, I got to say, though, like, and I know it didn't happen recently, like the week 17 was god-awful, but, like, Jaden hits when McLaurin hits, and McLaurin hits usually when Jaden hits. So I would still remind you of that core principle. Like the number 1 receiver for the team is Terry McLaurin. Number 2 is Zach Ertz. Number 3 is just whoever gets there in a given week. And it could be Zacchaeus, could be Diami Brown. Like if you're just putting Daniels with Diami Brown, you're putting just Daniels with Zacchaeus. I don't think it wins that often, to be honest. I am still very much team McLaurin, even though he has obviously failed pretty notably in a couple big spots lately. What's the playoffs? And it's a shitty Bucks team as well. Bucks also, do they suck downfield? Your bad downfield defense, 13 yards per pass, the worst on the slate. On your attempting throws of 20+ air yards. Not the highest touchdown rate, about 9.4%, but a 0.4 EPA, one of the worst marks in the slate too. I think it seems like a McLaurin spot to me, but I am biased. Bo Nix here. Oh, oops. Bo Nix, James Cook, Bucky Irving, Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Khalil Shakir, Dalton Cade, Mike Evans, Buccaneers. I like this. I like the Denver-Buffalo shootout. Denver is feisty, and Buffalo's defense is not as good as like the Ravens is. Like Buffalo's defense came on the opposite of strong, came on weak down the home stretch. Baltimore's defense got good. Buffalo's has gotten worse. So I think it's appealing. Yeah, Denver double. You're getting leverage on Allen, but still saying Allen produces pretty well. That's a fun team. That's a fun, cleverly built sim team. What else have we not looked at? I feel like there's one more QB we haven't looked at. Looked at Baker, looked at Jaden. Oh, we need a Jordan Love team. My God, Jordan Love all the way down here. With Jordan Love's hand injury and him not coming up easily projection-wise, if you were to get a Packers upset where they pass enough, this is an unstacked or lightly stacked Jordan Love. But if they pass enough and beat the Eagles, you probably win a tournament with Jordan Love. I know it's like still not the highest outcome in the world, but that's that. Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Marvin Mims, Romeo Doubs, Sterling Shepard, Dallas Goedert, Bucky Irving, and Bucks D. I don't like the Washington fade. I find it, again, I am in the bag for Big Jaden as much as I possibly can. I find it hard to believe that the Bucks shut down Washington and they don't get there. Like if the Commanders play some fucking half-ass version of football this week and don't come out slinging it, Cliff Kingsbury shouldn't fucking be back. He should take a head coaching job and leave. But like that's first thing. The second thing is like the Bucks should be able to put up points. And I don't think if they're putting up points that the Commanders don't start pressing more and Jaden starts getting the ball downfield and really making the aggressive plays, like when he goes full high octane Jaden. So I would have a hard time playing Bucks D, especially Bucks D with like pass catchers. Like Jaden throws the occasional pick, but he's not Jameis. All right, let's go to Stochastic next. Let's look at their exposures real fast here. Your top ROI guys and some negative ROI lineups here. Jaden with Robinson and Zacchaeus looking bad. Baker with Robinson and McLaurin. You're getting a mix of Robinson and Eckler, by the way. Eckler is back in after that concussion. That seemed like it might take his year. He is, in fact, coming back in. Oh, my God. What? You're hold on. Let's scroll down. Okay. Your highest ROI guy, according to Sim, Troy Franklin. We made it, buddy. Jermaine Burton is big competition here amidst the lowly drafted receivers that people were touting a ton of the offseason. Jermaine Burton done. His career is probably done with domestic violence stuff. Troy Franklin, your highest ROI guy on ETR in the solver. So, hey, Troy Franklin, we did it. But he is still just a guy. So, keep that in mind. Should score a touchdown, though. Like he and Bo Nix. The stats this year are going to look bad for Troy Franklin because Bo Nix missed him on a lot of plays that should have been like big, downfield plays, potential touchdowns. Troy Franklin himself also didn't play fantastically. A lot of plays that he got catches on were like screens and bullshit. That said, Troy Franklin having a day here, being a guy that's low owned and catches a touchdown, I don't think it'd be crazy. And Buffalo was a team, too, that I think he might have thought he was going to get drafted by because I thought he was going to get drafted by them. And they took him in for 3 visits when they brought in no other receivers for that many visits. So revenge game for Troy Franklin. But anyway, just a really high ROI at 6% exposure in these lineups. We got Diami Brown, very high ROI as well, 120% ROI and 15% of these top lineups. So it's a lot of Diami Brown. Yeah, we talked about the Zacchaeus thing already. I would favor Zacchaeus, but Diami Brown is under 10% owned. And there are not a lot of guys who are actually playing who are under 10% owned on the slate. Dallas Goedert coming back in, 118% ROI for him and 29% of these lineups. So he's coming up a lot and he's being used a lot. Dawson Knox, 113% ROI. Rashad White, 112. When he does hit, it's probably because Bucky Irving got hurt or something. Or he could also hit, I think, if the game script got really away where they were behind a ton to the Commanders and had to play from behind. You probably see more Rashad White in there because they just would keep him in, trust him a little bit more in that pass protection. Rashad White's got pass there, but you don't want to play him a lot. Sterling Shepard being back in, I just feel like he's gotten fully lapped by McMillan. I don't love him, but Commanders do give up not a ton of first read targets. They do give up more of the second, third read, so maybe Shepard can get there. Commanders D, whatever, Baker or whatever. Troy Franklin not inspired by coordinated air travel. That's why Chuck Victor didn't draft. Thank you. Spags, next year we need to put some emphasis on these ref squads / team matchups. There's a good sample size. No. Well, no. The Vegas total accounts for everything you need to know. I would never start bringing in more stuff that don't matter. I don't want to double count things. That's very much the opposite of what I try to do. All right, let's go to Stochastic next. One quick run here. Premium video coming up after this one as well, so stay tuned for that. Ref squads, are you kidding me? Let's build these lineups. I appreciate the thought, but no fucking chance. And also asking me to do more work that I don't believe in. Crazy town. No. You start bringing in every stat in the world. That's when you start to delude yourself into things that don't matter. %60 are better results on who the referee teams are. No, I'd buy that more in the NBA. No, I would think whoever is telling you that, unless you're going to give me a back tested like mean regression fucking data point, I think you would probably need to do a lot to sway me on that one. That's one of those things, and there's a lot of them that exist, like the Mike Tomlin being 10-2 in the playoffs thing or whatever, is like these things that people think matter, gamblers think matter, whatever. They don't. They're not a big enough sample size thing. They're also just things that have too many variables that aren't related, and you're trying to identify a trend that's not really there. Yeah, you gotta there you go, back test the Diddy out of this. If you give me great back tested data for multiple years and get the sample size large enough, then I'll take a look at it. But really would doubt it. That's something too where I would have heard that when I was at Football Outsiders. We talked about everything modeling. I even heard the fact, like, basically their belief, and this is again from having done tons of research on NFL data, play-by-play data, and all that. The belief is that the most valuable player to have in football would be a kicker that could win you an onside kick more than 50% of the time or something like that. Obviously, that sounds like crazy when you hear it. But basically, like, if you were to go through football, like, it wouldn't even be like the greatest QB. It wouldn't be this or that. It would just be the fact you get more possessions. When you have that level of detail and things like that, I don't think that they would go like that. You would ignore referee things and data for everybody else. No, I was not a math major. I was good at math in high school. Well, I was good at math until puberty, really. It was still okay in high school. But no, I was a public relations / journalism major and a theater minor. So no, not math. But I've taken stats and stuff before, so I have some baseline knowledge, but not enough. Not enough to be a data scientist. Baker Mayfield, you do stuff enough though for enough years. And you also, for me, like the big thing that I did, part of the reason I went to work at Football Outsiders, like I learned so much from gamblers when I was at Stochastic. And even before that too, when I was at Barstool, I kind of met some people and talked about some stuff and learned some things. And then like I went to Football Outsiders because I was like, I want to see what football people know. I learned a lot there and frankly felt like I combined those two things together. I feel like, I don't think there's anybody out there who knows a ton more. But obviously, there's always people that know more. Like Eric Eager is a fucking genius and a math genius at both things. A guy who was at PFF and is now at the Panthers. There's always people that are going to know more than you, but like you do the best you can to learn from the different things. And I think that does more than just being a pure mathematician, but what do I know? Anyway, your top ROI lineup right now: Baker Mayfield, Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan, Sterling Shepard, Dalton Kincaid, Dallas Goedert, Eagles D. Nerdy Tenor is super smart and a programmer too, which is really the main thing. And again, the perfect case example too of like guy who doesn't follow the sports at all, doesn't pay attention to anything, but he built really good tools and he understands the math behind things. And as a result, he's probably one of the sharpest guys. Like when there's Nerdy Tenor content, I try to listen to it. It's a little hard to get the 2-hour Davis streams in with regularity for me, to be candid. But I do love Nerdy Tenor, what he puts out there. And that's one guy you should listen to and try to hear more about. Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving, Brian Robinson Jr., Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, Jalen McMillan, Tucker Kraft, Zach Ertz, Packers. Number 3, you got Bo Nix, Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, Cortland Sutton, Devontae Smith, Marvin Mims, Dalton Kincaid, Tucker Kraft, and Bucks. So this build is like Denver playing from behind and slinging it, which I think is kind of fun. You really just need Bo Nix to be playing from behind and slinging it to two guys that he does sling it to when he's playing from behind. So I think that's a reasonable ask for a lineup. Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving, James Cook, Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, Khalil Shakir, Tucker Kraft, Sterling Shepard, and Packers. And number 5, so tons of Baker here. Baker Mayfield again with Bucky, James Cook, Mike Evans, A.J. Brown, Sterling Shepard, Kincaid, Kraft, and Bucks. Let's just look at the other QBs really fast because I'm curious to see all of these lineups. And frankly, the Jaden Daniels disrespect here is too much. I'm surprised he's not coming up more of their projection. Maybe because they think he's going to be chalky because of how well they have him projected. Would be maybe one thought. You got Bo Nix with Saquon. You read this one already. Saquon, Bucky, Cortland Sutton, Devontae, Mims, Kincaid, Kraft, Bucks. Again, I like that one. Besides the Bucks D part. Bo Nix, Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Cortland Sutton, Jaden Reed, Mims again, Kincaid, Jalen McMillan, Packers D. Kind of fun playing the Packers upset through Packers D, Jaden Reed, and Jacobs, and no Eagles in that. Number 3 here, Bo Nix, Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, Cortland Sutton, Jaden Reed, Marvin Mims, Goddard, Ertz, and Commanders. Okay. Let's see our sweet boy. My sweet boy, if he's not yours. Jaden Daniels, Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, A.J. Brown, Olamide Zaccheaus, Sterling Shepard, Kincaid, Zach Ertz, Bills. I did not enjoy that lineup very much. Number 2, you got Jaden, Saquon, Bucky Irving, McLaurin, Jalen McMillan, Diami Brown, Kincaid, Ertz, and Bills. Number 3, Jaden, Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Marvin Mims, Zacchaeus, Tucker Kraft, Ertz, and Broncos. Again, like Jaden won't win you the tournament unless McLaurin hits. Really how I do feel about that. It's possible he could hit with Zacchaeus, but I don't buy it. I don't buy it in the playoffs. I don't buy it in this matchup. I think the winner is McLaurin. I think McLaurin makes a winning lineup is really how I feel about it with how little he's coming up. And I granted, again, whatever, bias, blah, blah, blah. But like I'm biased and was right about it. So my bias is only grown stronger. Josh Allen, Buck here. Oops. Go back to sorting here. Okay. Josh Allen, highest ROI for him. Buck Irving, Austin Eckler, Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, Tucker Kraft, Packers. Number 2, Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, Jaden Reed, Khalil Shakir, Zacchaeus, Kincaid, Goddard, Bucks. And number 3, Allen, Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Devontae Smith, Khalil Shakir, Jalen McMillan, Kincaid, Ertz, and Packers. There's one more QB left. We got Jalen Hurts. You saw enough Baker. Our last QB that we haven't seen many of the lineups here on Stochastic. You got Jalen Hurts, Bucky Irving, James Cook, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. So you're getting the double with Wicks, Goddard as well. So the triple, Zach Ertz and Bucks D. Hurts with Saquon, Bucky Irving, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, McMillan, Lucas Kroll, Goddard, and Broncos. Well, that Lucas Kroll ownership is going to be low. So you get the ownership product down with your Philly mega stack. I really find it hard to believe that 4 guys make a lineup from Philly against Green Bay. I don't buy that. I would buy more into Green Bay upsetting here when nobody believes in them than Jalen Hurts putting up a quadruple stack that includes Saquon. Number 3, you have Jalen Hurts, Bucky Irving, Brian Robinson Jr., A.J. Brown, Cortland Sutton, Devontae Smith, Goddard, Kraft, Broncos. Interesting. Did Saturday in the first half, Sunday in the back half. So if you want to skip back, you can see the Saturday. There'll be timestamps after the video ends too, or after I do the premium video too. Jaden, Terry, Eckler, Ertz is the onslaught. I like that as a concept. Maybe a little bit tough for Eckler and Ertz, but again, there's going to be a lot of points in that game, I think. So I don't hate it. Your top ROIs for stacks here, or top ROIs for players. Oops. Nobody positive, but Tucker Kraft the highest. Zach Ertz number 2, Bucky number 3, Packers number 4, Kincaid number 5, Dallas Goedert number 6. Stack ROIs, nobody's got a positive ROI in a single stack. Nobody's got a positive ROI in a double stack. The triple stack, you have a little bit of a positive ROI for Baker Mayfield triples, but nothing else here. Jordan Love after that, Jalen Hurts after that, Jaden Daniels after that. Top exposures, 92% of lineups have Bucky. I agree. Play Bucky or die. No, play Bucky. If you're going to play an injury for Bucky, play Rachaad White. But really, I don't know how you fade Bucky overall. No, I will not. I only do the things I'm playing, and I could not care less about the full slate. No disrespect. Dalton Kincaid, 50% exposure compared to the field's 25. Zach Ertz, 47% exposure compared to the field's 35. Tucker Kraft, 45% compared to 23. Khalil Shakir, 41% compared to 30. And Saquon, 38% compared to 42. Your highest leverage guys, Bucky Irving, 30% leverage on the field. Kincaid, 25%. Tucker Kraft, 22. Jalen McMillan, 14. Ertz, 12. Packers D, 12% as well. You're getting about a third of your lineups are the Packers D. So, okay. That's a lot of Packers D. I wonder if it's all, I'm sure it's not all, but I assume a lot of that's in like fading the Eagles and playing the Packers winning. Getting that a third of lineups is kind of interesting. Commanders D coming in less, negative 8% leverage. Brian Robinson, a negative 8% leverage rounded up. Zacchaeus, negative 7. Boy, big. At least for the key commanders, you're fading them. Not the key, but like some of the primary commanders. Jaleel McLaughlin, negative 7. Jaden Daniels, negative 6. K. Dotton, negative 6. Wow. Fading Jaden. Where's McLaurin at? McLaurin playing 20% compared to the field's 25. All right. We're down on all my boys, all my sweet boys. So that's the slate, guys. Splash plays, I don't fucking know. Bucky Irving on the Sunday slate. Derrick Henry / Justice Hill on the Saturday slate. There's a lot of takeaways here, guys. I don't know how to distill it down for one bite-sized thing in the end. But please do support the show, guys. A lot of work doing 2 slates at once. We got through here a little bit over an hour. Please subscribe down below with the like button. I'm just one guy here. Do you see multiple guys? I'm looking around. There's no, I'm checking under the table. No, the guy who's usually under my table is not there. So it's just me here. Please show some love. Hit the like button, subscribe. It goes a long way for me here. Just building numbers up so we can sell better ads, get better partnerships, keep things moving the right way to build a real business off of me yelling into the microphone at you every day. Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash, promo code SPLASH. Get some last shots at playoff best ball in. Use that promo code and check the link in the description. Stochastic, 15% off. Best way to support the show besides joining down below is Stochastic, 15% off. And that's all affiliate stuff. Half that goes to me. So you get great tools out of it. I get supported. It all wins. We all win. We all win. Then we hug and we kiss and you go under the table. Unabated, $30 off. Promo code SPLASH on there. Shout out to those of you guys who have been signing up lately. Glad to see those numbers going up. And here's all the paying members. If you're not on the sheet, probably means you're not a paying member. So I don't know what the fuck to tell you. Or you got a different username or something. But here's everybody here as of this morning. Thank you for being a paying member. Join down below. Get a VIP Discord. And the video I'm going to do after this one where I show you my data sheet, go game by game. That is part of that. And also more to come in terms of VIP perks. But hey, it just supports the show, really. It's like PBS. So I always say here, similar class. Gamble responsibly, even though it's always money time here. And speaking of all class, here's Daffy Duck. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Premium stream coming up for the paying members. You'll get automatically redirected there, so come check that out. And I'll be back on NBA today at 4 p.m., so come watch Splash Play NBA. Probably no beers today, though, so don't tell anybody. I'll see you soon. Enjoy your days, and good luck. Bye-bye.